Here are the top stories for today, October 20, 2020. President Duterte assures that the government will pay the Red Cross. All government agencies are reminded to publish all their biddings. Left out workers to receive cash aid under Bayanihan 2. And consumption of shellfish from Bataan is temporarily halted. Good day, I'm William Theo. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. President Rodrigo Duterte, in his talk to the people last night, assured Red Cross that the government is finding ways to pay its debt amounting to more than 930 million pesos for the coronavirus tests. Red Cross has conducted over 1 million COVID-19 tests, or 25% of testings conducted in the country. It recently stopped its operations due to the unsettled bill. What would be its impact and what are the measures that can be done? Let us find out from Rom Dulfo.
President Rodrigo Duterte assures the Philippine Health Insurance Corporation, or PhilHealth, will pay its debts to the Philippine Red Cross. In his talk with the nation last night, President Duterte says the government is currently working on a solution to pay the PhilHealth's accumulated debt of 930.99 million pesos.
Ditong Red Cross, huwag kang mag-alala, mabayaran to. They're just looking for a way to present the solution to sa COA pati sa budget. Do not worry, we will pay. It will take time, but we will pay. We will look for the money. Hindi naman marami, but priorities natin dito is really medical treatment, medical attention. Mabayaran to in a short while.
The Philippine Red Cross has been receiving samples of returning OFWs, those arriving in airports and seaports, those in mega swabbing facilities, and frontline health and government workers.
Yung Red Cross kasi hindi nabayaran doon sa testing sa COVID. So ang problema nito, Red Cross is threatening to, I do not know. But I do not think Senator Gordon would have in his mind to stop. They would continue. Tingin ko kay Senator Gordon, because he heads the Red Cross, na babayaran ko to. Dumaan tayo ng malaking gastos. At we are trying to make both ends meet. Ika nga kung parang plastiko, talagang binabanat natin ng husto kung yung resources natin.
PhilHealth President and Chief Executive Officer Dante Gueran says the state insurer will pay its outstanding balance, but also pointed out that his team found questionable items in the agency's existing deal with a non-government organization. He claims the contract between PhilHealth and PRRD, which was approved by former PhilHealth Chief Ricardo Morales, did not comply with procurement directives of the Office of the Executive Secretary. Meanwhile, the IATF has tapped government laboratories to help in the processing of PCR specimen of OFWs swabbed upon arrival at NAIA. OWA Chief Hans Leo Kakdak urged Filipino workers to register at quarantinecertificate.com, care of the Bureau of Quarantine, for the purposes of finding out the results of their PCR tests. For its part, the Department of Health says overseas Filipino workers returning from countries with low to medium COVID-19 prevalence would not be required to undergo RT-PCR test and would only be checked for COVID-19 symptoms. However, they still have to undergo the test if their respective local government requires. Meanwhile, Batangas Governor Hermelando Mandanas stressed that it would be a big loss for the province if the Philippine Red Cross, which has always been its partner whenever disaster strikes the province, would be forced to stop the operations of its molecular laboratories. As such, the province will donate 5 billion pesos to the Philippine Red Cross to ensure that residents can avail of its COVID-19 swab tests for free. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Rom Dulfo.
President Rodrigo Duterte reminded government agencies to publish all their biddings for supply of goods and services. The president explained that such a step will help prevent corruption.
Lahat ng bidding must be published. I would like to remind everybody, every department of this. Governments will pay. Magbayad ang gobyerno, mag-publish tayo ng mga, lalo na the big tickets, yung mga bilyon-bilyong na mga proyekto. I-publish natin magkano o ilang bilyon ba yan o milyon. Then, pagkatapos ang mga bidders. So by just looking at the bidders, makita mo may mga hausyaw. So by just looking at the bidders, I should know that they are legitimate, yung ano talaga. At ma-check ko kung ang mga takbo ng kanilang trabaho.
Meanwhile, President Duterte admitted that there is still corruption in the Department of Public Works and Highways, or DPWH. But the president clarified that Secretary Mark Villar is not in any way involved in fraudulent activities in the agency.
Si Villar, mayaman. Secretary Villar, marami pera, hindi niya kailangan mga urakot. Ang problema sa baba, malakas pa rin hanggang ngayon. I do not forgive cases sa mga korupsyon. Wala talaga. Walang ariglo, wala lahat. No quarters given, no quarters asked.
In a related story, Secretary Villar has created a task force against graft and corruption in DPWH. The task force shall investigate anomalies allegedly perpetrated by officials and/or employees of the department based on valid complaints. Villar said the task force will also boost efficiency and effectiveness of DPWH in providing quality infrastructure. It is expected to recommend appropriate actions against officials involved in illegal activities. Malacanang said a shift to a less stringent Modified Enhanced Community Quarantine, or MGCQ, is still possible, noting a decrease in the number of COVID-19 cases. However, Metro Manila mayors want to keep the region under General Community Quarantine, or GCQ, for the rest of the year. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque said the recommendation is still subject to the approval of the Interagency Task Force for the Management of Emerging Infectious Diseases. Interior Secretary Eduardo Año also agreed with the mayor's decision, saying relaxing quarantine restrictions in the metropolis may lead to a spike in COVID-19 cases.
Ang nangyayari po kasi ngayon, bagamat naka-GCQ ang Metro Manila, nagkakaroon po tayo ng mas malawak na pagbubukas ng mga industriya na yan naman po ang kinakailangan. No? At yan po ay kabahagi po ng ating mensahe na kinakailangan pag-ingatan ng buhay para makapaghanap buhay po.
Roque said downgrading to MGCQ will only be possible if COVID-19 infections continue to lower.
Kasi sinabi ko naman po, pwede kung patuloy na bumaba ang numero, no? Bumababa po talaga ang numero, no? Pero monthly naman po ang ating desisyon, so hindi pa naman tapos ang Oktubre.
Malacanang said the Department of Education, or DepEd, may have only been referring to minors in a portion of one of its alleged self-learning modules which discouraged children from joining peaceful assemblies. Earlier, a certain learning module posted by Facebook user David Waya has gone viral on social media as it created an impression that the DepEd discourages students from joining peaceful assemblies. One of the module's questions with a photo depicting a rally was, if given the chance, will you join this rally? Why or why not? According to its answer key, the correct answer is no, because the government has really been doing their best for all the Filipino people and their constituents. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque raised the possibility that the DepEd was only looking out for minors after the Commission on Human Rights expressed concern over the module's content. He said the module might have never been meant for tertiary level students in colleges and universities.
Ang initial reaction ko is we defer to the DepEd, no? Pero remember, ang DepEd naman po, ang supervision niya, elementary and high school. So, siguro ang sinasabi lang ng DepEd, yung mga elementary at high school, siguro wag muna mag-attend ng mga rallies, no? Pero as I said, DepEd will be in a better position to address this. Hindi naman po ito para sa mga matatanda ng mga estudyante. Ito po ay para sa mga bata.
Meanwhile, DepEd clarified that a learning module that discourages students from joining peaceful assemblies is not part of its curriculum resources. Catholic churches in Manila are ready to accept more churchgoers as the city government approved an increase in the number of people that would be allowed to attend religious gatherings. Manila Apostolic Administrator Bishop Broderick Pabilio confirmed that he received a message from Mayor Francisco Isko Moreno Dumagoso and from Justice Secretary Menardo Guevara regarding the increase in the allowed seating capacity inside churches to 30%. On the other hand, Father Douglas Badong, parochial vicar of the Minor Basilica of the Black Nazarene, otherwise known as Quiapo Church, said they are ready to accept more devotees. He also thanked the city government and IATF-EID for allowing more people to pray inside churches. Badong assured that physical distancing and other health protocols will be strictly implemented. The national government will spend until war-torn Marawi City is rebuilt to its former glory. This is the message of President Rodrigo Duterte last night, assuring that the government has enough funds and is willing to look for more if necessary to rehabilitate Marawi City.
The money is there, do not worry. And we will continue to spend until such time that Marawi is rebuilt to its former glory. It might take, it's not easy to do that. But it might take some time before we can really reach the ideal place that you'd call home. We started it and we are at it already because the clearing of explosives ang matagal.
He also refuted criticisms made by watchdog Marawi Reconstruction Conflict Watch that there is no real liberation 3 years after his declaration.
Of course, it is not freed by the activities of the terrorists. But if you're talking about liberation, tapos na yan at the expense of blood of both sides. Pero sa akin, mas masakit kasi I'm the commander-in-chief. Marami akong sundalong namatay. We are doing our best. We did not ask for this fight. We had to destroy because it was the only way to put down the enemy.
Task Force Bangon Marawi Chairman and Housing Secretary Eduardo Del Rosario said rehabilitation is on track and will meet the December 2021 deadline to finish rehabilitating the city. Still to come, 13th month pay subsidy plan for workers is still being studied, and left out workers to receive cash aid under Bayanihan 2. More on these when the PNA Newsroom continues.
Alamin kung paano ang tamang pagsusuot ng surgical mask. Una, hawakan ang mask sa strap at siguruhing natatakpan nito ang inyong bibig at ilong. Tandaan, ang may kulay na bahagi ng mask ang dapat nasa labas. Ito lamang ang tamang paraan ng pagsuot nito. Ihulma ang nose piece o maliit na metallic strip ayon sa hugis ng inyong ilong. Iwasan ang paghawak sa inyong ilong at bibig. Kung marumi na ang mask, hubarin ito gamit ang strap at itapon ito sa isang basurahan. Siguruhin ang maayos na paghuhugas ng kamay gamit ang sabon at tubig. Ang surgical mask ay dapat gamitin ng mga pasyenteng may sakit sa baga o mga taong mayroong ubo, sipon at lagnat, mga nag-aalaga sa mga may sakit, at mga healthcare at frontline workers. Maaari ring magsuot nito kung kayo ay pupunta sa matataong lugar. Basta't sama-sama at laging handa, kaya natin to! Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at ng himpilang ito.
You're still watching the PNA Newsroom. The government is studying the subsidy program that will enable micro, small, and medium enterprises to release the 13th month pay of their employees. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque said the Department of Finance is waiting for more information from the Department of Labor and Employment. On Sunday, Labor Secretary Silvestre Bello III said he will propose a subsidy for MSMEs should they be unable to give the 13-month pay of their workers. Bello said the government could refer lending facilities to concerned and affected MSMEs. He also maintained that employers are mandated by Presidential Decree 851 to extend 13th-month pay to their staff on or before December 24 of every year. The government has already provided subsidies to MSME workers after the enhanced community quarantine was raised over Luzon through the Small Business Wage Subsidy Program. Over 500,000 informal sector workers would be prioritized by the DepEd program of the Department of Labor and Employment under the Bayanihan to Recover as One Act or Bayanihan 2. Bureau of Workers with Special Concerns Director Maria Karen Trivilla said more than 500,000 applicants from the informal sector have not been served under the Bayanihan to Heal as One or Bayanihan 1. Trivilla said they have started validating the list of unserved applicants to determine how many of them are eligible to receive aid. At the same time, Trivilla said they are asking for an allocation of 6 billion pesos for the DepEd program, which is aimed at assisting over 860,000 beneficiaries. In DepEd under Bayanihan 2, beneficiaries will be working 15 to 17 days. The worker will receive a maximum of more than 5,000 pesos to as low as over 3,000 pesos. One of the police generals among the passengers of the helicopter that crashed in Laguna last March has passed away on Tuesday. Philippine National Police Chief General Camilo Cascolan confirmed that Major General Jose Maria Ramos died at the Asian Hospital in Muntinlupa due to low blood pressure. He was 55. The PNP has extended its condolences to the family of Ramos, who was also Cascolan's mista at the Philippine Military Academy's Sinagtala class. On March 5, a helicopter carrying ranking police officials, including retired PNP Chief General Archie Gamboa, crashed upon takeoff when it hit a high-tension wire due to poor visibility caused by thick dust. Ramos, who was critically hurt, was in comatose for months. The Pasig City government has temporarily closed its community kitchen after one of its workers tested positive for COVID-19. Mayor Vico Soto on Monday said the community kitchen, which is in charge in preparing meals for the city's healthcare workers and other frontliners, will be closed for 2 weeks. He added that close contacts of the positive patient will undergo a 14-day quarantine and will be tested for COVID-19. Contact tracing efforts showed no evidence of transmission within the community kitchen's workplace. Meantime, they are setting up a temporary kitchen at the Livelihood Center, which will feed the quarantine and isolation facility. Meanwhile, qualified family beneficiaries of the government's second tranche of the Social Amelioration Program, or SAP, in Pasay City are set to receive 8,000 pesos in assistance beginning October 21. Mayor Emmy Calixto Rubiano said the Department of Social Welfare and Development has already completed the validation and cross-checking process of each qualified household. She urged beneficiaries to wait for a confirmation text message coming from Robinson's Bank for details. Strict adherence to health protocols will be observed during the SAP distribution process to prevent further transmission of COVID-19. The government's unilateral decision to lift the moratorium on oil and gas exploration in the West Philippine Sea is expected to bring investments and jobs in the next 5 years. Energy Secretary Alfonso Cusi said the lifting of the ban has allowed service contract holders to resume their exploration of new energy sources in the West Philippine Sea. Cusi said there were 5 service contract holders doing oil and gas exploration in the area before the ban on oil and gas exploration. He added these service contractors have work programs that will run for 5 to 6 years. The DOE chief said there are 3 other applicants for service contracts that the DOE is evaluating on top of the 5 awarded deals. Cusi further said the decision to lift the moratorium is an exercise of the Philippine government's sovereign rights. Up next, North Cotabato beefs up drive against measles, and consumption of shellfish from Bataan is temporarily halted. The PNA Newsroom returns after these reminders.
Alamin ang tamang paraan ng pag-ubo upang mapigilan ang paglaganap ng coronavirus disease 2019. Ugaliing magdala ng panyo o tissue. Kung uubo o babahing, takpan ang buong ilong at bibig gamit ang panyo o tissue. Kung walang dalang panyo o tissue, maaaring gamitin ang braso na pantakip. Kung nakararamdam na kailangan umubo o bumahing, agad na dumistansya sa mga tao sa paligid. Huwag dumura kung saan-saan, gumamit ng tissue at itapon sa basurahan. Ugaliin ang paghuhugas ng kamay at paggamit ng alcohol o hand sanitizer upang mamatay ang mikrobyo. Basta't sama-sama at laging handa, kaya natin to! Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at ng himpilang ito.
Health authorities in North Cotabato will intensify their campaign against measles as cases increased from January to October this year. Provincial Health Chief Dr. Eva Rabaya said health frontliners would participate in the month-long measles rubella supplemental immunization activity starting October 26 up to November 25. The month-long activity aims to cover 460,000 children. The North Cotabato Integrated Provincial Health Office recorded 211 cases of measles with 11 fatalities as of October 15. Region-wide, the number of measles infections is now at 411. Provincial officials have urged parents of children 9 months of age and above to bring them to the nearest health station as soon as possible to prevent getting the virus from other patients in their communities. The Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources has banned the consumption of shellfish caught in the coastal waters of Bataan due to red tide. Laboratory results showed shellfish samples collected from Bataan's waters tested positive for the paralytic shellfish poison. Included in the ban are shellfish from the towns of Mariveles, Limay, Orion, Pilar, Hermosa, Orani, Abucay, Samal, and the city of Palanga. BFAR officer in charge, Director Juan Abaledejo, however, said that fish harvested in those areas are safe to eat, provided they are fresh and washed thoroughly and their internal organs are removed before cooking. He said BFAR and the provincial government of Bataan are continuously monitoring the affected areas to safeguard public health and protect the fishery industry. The government vows anew to bring Marawi and its residents back on their feet through continuous rehabilitation as the city remembers the third of its liberation from terrorist groups. Christine Lynn Viajante has the story.
As Marawi City commemorates its third-year liberation anniversary, fallen soldiers are honored in a wreath-laying ceremony held at the 103rd Infantry Brigade. Construction of infrastructure projects are also underway in the most affected area. This includes the reopening of Bangulo Bridge. Public infrastructures like the bridge was inaugurated and reopened, while other major projects are now in its full throttle in implementation.
We have not ceased in giving our 100% support, war or no war.
Nothing hinders Task Force Bangon Marawi and other non-government organizations in providing livelihood kits and programs to alleviate the lives of internally displaced persons or IDPs. Also, with the help of some private donors, the reconstruction of mosques in the most affected area commenced.
The rehabilitation will serve as our medium in order to achieve a very peaceful environment.
Meanwhile, social healing projects and programs for the betterment of the affected families were also given by TFBM to make sure that the community is also aided in all aspects of their lives. As Marawi City commemorates its third-year liberation from the clutches of the ISIS-inspired Mauti terrorist group, Task Force Bangon Marawi Chairperson Secretary Eduardo Del Rosario echoed what President Duterte said, and that is to make the city prosperous again. For PNA Newsroom, Christine Lin Viajante of PIA Iligan City Information Center.
The Port of Clark is donating over 5,000 electronic devices such as laptops and cell phones to the Department of Education. BOC Clark District Collector Ruby Alameda said the donation is part of efforts to help students engaged in blended learning during the pandemic. The soon-to-be donated items came from the inventory of forfeited and abandoned phones, laptops, computer monitors, and other accessories that were meant for disposal. Alameda also said the forfeited and seized items were the results of vigilance and dedication to service of Port of Clark personnel in apprehending shipments violating the Customs Modernization and Tariff Act. In sports, Zamboanga City reigned supreme in the Chooks to Go Pilipinas 3x3 preseason tournament in the final on Monday night at the Inspire Sports Academy in Calamba, Laguna. Joshua Munson's back-to-back deuces helped Zamboanga City survive a gritty stand from Bacolod that saw the latter come to within one less than 3 minutes left. Chris Lalata scored on a two-handed jam to keep Bacolod in the fight, but Alvin Pasaol converted the match point to seal Zamboanga City's win. Munson finished with 7 points to lead Zamboanga City. Nueva Ecija, which put up a gallant stand before bowing to Zamboanga City in the semi-finals, walked away with the third place. The preseason tournament serves as a tune-up for the President's Cup, which will begin on Wednesday back at Inspire Sports Academy. Here's another look at today's biggest stories. President Duterte assures that the government will pay the Red Cross. All government agencies are reminded to publish all their biddings. Left out workers to receive cash aid under Bayanihan 2. And consumption of shellfish from Bataan is temporarily halted. Thank you for watching another episode of the PNA Newsroom. To check more news content, visit our webpage or head on to the Philippine News Agency's Facebook and Twitter accounts. For more stories about the government and how it serves Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. We are shown on the pages of the PCOO and its attached agencies. Also, watch us on television on PTV4 and IBC 13. And that's your daily dose of the biggest stories that you need to know. From the PNA Newsroom, I am William Theo. Good day and stay safe, everyone.